much greater need in Akron that I can't see.
I could eventually, stood up and postured myself in a very prideful way. You kind of lose focus. Sometimes you have to step outside of yourself. And how can we go refocus our attention on how we can serve others in this time?
And so I've just been praying, Lord, how do we see the people that really need the most help? The people that need groceries, the people that need encouragement. And so I thought of Kemp.
If there's a way for us to engage or to be involved, man, we want to do that. And I think that we've been transparent in some of the different events and activities that we've done, not only from the platform of Love Akron, but what we've been able to do now in partnership with other organizations.
Don't do anything else today. Just make sure that you love Akron.
Make sure that you love Akron.
Whatever you do today, wherever you go today, just make sure that you love Akron.
And early on, one of the things I said to Coach Kemp was, I'm like, I'm an employee of Love Akron. We're going to do this black and white conversation, conversation versus collision. I said, Coach, if we're going to do this, and then we're going to get to that point where we're just rocking and singing Kumbaya, I was like, then can I respectfully ask that you count me out? Because one, if this is not a forever challenge or assignment, if this is not something that we're going to do forever, I just don't want to do it. I want to do something that's going to truly make impact. So I think it's important for us to make note of the fact that this is a commitment from Love Akron forever.
Welcome everybody to Love Akron Live. I am Coach Kemp Boyd, and thank you. Haven't been in this seat in a long time, so I'm very thankful to our team here at Love Akron, especially Lori Porter for holding down the fort while I've been away. And thank you for all of you for your support, for your prayers, for your thoughts, and for staying in there with us and engaging with us each and every week. We look at our Love Akron Live platform as an encountering platform. We get to encounter with one another, but also we can encounter with the happenings and the things that are going on in Greater Akron. And so each and every week we have guests that come and talk about what they're doing as change makers and how they're loving Akron. And so we're going to start something a little bit special to start off our show. We're going to always start from this point on with a spotlight person, okay? Someone that we're going to spotlight who is a change maker that is doing really great things in the community and to really update us on what's going on and how we can engage and get involved. So it's a really good friend of mine. I call her my sister, who's doing really great things, and she's challenging me all the time to say, what more could we be doing? And so in our spotlight today, I want to bring on Tracy Carter. Tracy, are you there? Hello, Tracy.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
I can hear you great. How are you doing today?
I'm blessed. Thank you for the invitation, Kemp.
Oh man, always. Now, Tracy, we got a whole audience out there listening on Facebook Live, YouTube Live. Tell us from your position of what you do. First, tell us a little bit about yourself, but also just tell us what are you doing currently from your role, and let us know how you're loving Akron.
So for me, good afternoon again, Tracy Carter. I'm a lifelong Akron resident. This is home. This is my heart. My day job is I serve as a lobbyist for Summa Health, and we're proud sponsors and supporters with Love Akron. I've been aware and engaged with Love Akron since it was first founded years ago. So it's awesome to see the growth, the elevation, and expansion of the mission into the community. And what I appreciate, Kemp, is you having me on to talk about my work, my volunteer service with Love Akron around your mental health wellness priority, which is very important for me, because to me, it's harder to love Akron it's harder to love Akron when your mind isn't all there, if you're mentally and emotionally not ready. And so we're working together, you and others, Lori, with about 15 other people in Akron to make sure we do a better job of equipping African Americans with the tools they need to be mentally and emotionally strong. And what we've chosen is to activate the model. It's called Grief Recovery Method, which is a national model to better help individuals go through a process, a proven process to get better. And again, the goal is to help more of us who are suffering in silence get mentally and emotionally strong so that we can do a better job loving ourselves and loving others that we come in contact. So look forward to talking to you more about that today.
Man, that's awesome. You know, I was when I was going through what I was going through in the month of March, a buddy said this to me, and you were saying it too. He says, Kemp, man, you can't love Akron if you ain't loving yourself. Mm-hmm. And really what he was telling me is, man, you need to be able to get some rest and take time out for yourself. But I educate us a little bit on, because when I think about grief, my mind automatically goes to the loss of a loved one. Mm-hmm. But grief is a little bit more than just that, right?
It's absolutely more encompassing than that. And I have a definition that we've been sharing with different stakeholders across the community so they can get a better understanding of how broad grief is. And so beyond death, that's what most people relate to. But grief also encompasses divorce, change in job, change in financial status, relationship changes. All of these changes are natural and a normal response to grief. And so with our grief recovery pilot program that we are activating in partnership with the ADM board, thank you so much for the Change Direction Committee for investing in a pilot program. Again, our goal is to equip African Americans across Akron, Summit County with this specialized training so that they could be better prepared personally and in service to others to help people move through a defined, it's 6 to 8 weeks programming to help people understand and talk about what happened to them, what pain, what caused their pain, how they're feeling, and how to learn how to move through that experience, that process in a more healthy way. And so we're excited to be on this pathway to get more people trained with this method so they can go out in the community in the faith-based setting. There are people who are connected to health, community-based health centers. We have people that are in corrections. Wherever people are, we want them to have this tool so that they can practice love, loving others with this mental and emotional tool.
Okay, so now I'm gonna kind of slide this in because you were saying it and I appreciate it, but I want to help to educate our listeners as well and our audience. Now, we said that we're really focusing in grief recovery in the African American community. Could you just kind of educate or inform our listeners why is that so our intentionality?
I appreciate that question. So why to focus on African Americans? When we looked at the numbers, the data that talks about how African Americans continue to be disproportionately impacted by disease, by job loss, by racism, by discrimination. There are a host of issues that have affected our community for centuries. And now with the present day, when you look at the pandemic, when you look at what we're witnessing every day with the George Floyd trial, or the Derek Chauvin trial, I should say, he's the one that's on trial. That has done a lot for us mentally, emotionally. And again, we've endured a lot of loss, a lot of trauma. And so for us, through the Change Direction Committee, we had a conversation about targeting our grief recovery programming first with the African American population to better equip, again, wherever we are in the community, be it the church, out in the community, at the health center, at the home, wherever we are, we want to make sure more people have the tools in their tool belt to help people move through what they're feeling and access help when they're ready. I will say one of the other features of our pilot program is to do a better job of educating and engaging African Americans around mental health therapy as well. So grief recovery is not counseling, it's not therapy. It is a 6 to 8 week process to get people comfortable talking about their pain and how to move forward with their lives. And after that experience, our goal is to talk to them about the possibility of approaching a therapist for long-term emotional support, which I think is the way to go so that we can continue to be better mentally, emotionally, again, strengthening the mind so that we can also strengthen our heart, which should be radiating, emitting love to others more broadly. Absolutely. And fully. Absolutely.
I love that, Tracy, because what I hear and what I know is it's really meeting people where they are. Mm-hmm. And I think so many times right now in our society, we're always wanting people to come where we are, but man, we got to go and meet them where they are first. Mm-hmm. And if we can do that, that helps to, if you will, to break down some of that walls, right, of uncomfortableness. And it begins to make us comfortable relationally with one another. So I really appreciate kind of how you broke that down, because again, you mentioned George Floyd, but man, even something as current as Deontay Wright and what happened in Minnesota again, right, kind of helps to escalate or to heighten, man, our own feelings about some things. I know that there was an article that came out in Akron Beacon Journal and how the suicide rate within the African American community, how it's went up over years past. And there were 12, I think, in 2020 that had committed suicide, and all of them were males. They were all men. And so even from the standpoint of being a man, you know, I need to be met where I am, because it's not always going to be the first instinct for me to really be vulnerable or to really say what's going on, right? Mm-hmm. And before we came on, I was telling you about the situation. I was giving my testimony, if you will, to you about what I was going through. And I said, man, the first thing I felt was shame. And you said, man, why did you feel like that? And I'm like, man, because really what is heaped on us in society is, especially from a standpoint of a man, is we're supposed to be this person. And so I put the added stress and pressure on myself as a husband and as a father to
as a
be
provider
this person.
protector.
Exactly.
As a provider protector, yes.
Absolutely. And then when the provider protector goes down, you feel like, oh my gosh, what is this going to do for my family? And then you begin to say, well, how quickly can I come back from COVID? Like, and I'm gonna come back from COVID quicker than anybody else. Like I'm gonna race to get back. And when really this was a time for me to outreach a sister like you and the others, say, hey, I need your support right now. I need your prayers. I need your thoughts. I need your encouragement. And so I just love that about grief, and especially with what we've been through over the past year and a half, whether it was COVID, how many people had a loss of a job or a dream? You know, they came into 2020, if you will, saying that, hey, we're going to get out of debt this year. I know I'm working. I got everything broken down. Then COVID happens, and it's this abrupt halt to what the plan that you were working on. So just thank you for it, not just being about, man, a loss of a loved one, but it is the loss of any opportunity that we thought we had moving forward.
And you hit the nail on the head. It's the tangible and the intangible. And like you said, a lot of people have lost dreams, hopes, dignity, respect through this pandemic and other life-changing situations. And what I'm most proud about with our pilot effort, again, ADM is a part of this this test to make sure that more African Americans get access to this grief recovery tool. SUMA, my own employer, is also investing in this because we believe in what you're doing, is to make sure that men are actually trained so they can do a better job educating and engaging men around grief. The messenger does matter. So that's what I'm excited about. What our pilot is to better reach African Americans with mental and emotional needs. We are intentional about giving African Americans an opportunity to be trained or certified in this method so they can help people where they are when they say they are ready. And that's key, is meeting them where they are and making sure they are actually ready to move through the process, because it's quite emotional. I mean, we're going to ask you to go back. The process requires you to look back and identify what it is that caused the pain, and you work from there. And I will mention the beauty of the grief recovery method is that it serves you for life. And many of us, if you live long enough, you're going to experience a relationship loss, a health loss, loss of a dream or some other desire that you may have. And so whatever that loss is for you, you can take this tool and work through that process in a more healthy way. And so the pilot program goes through the end of the year. Again, it's focused on the African American population, but this method is open to anyone, really. And so we look forward to opening it up in the future. Also, I will say that anyone who is ready to do the work, who actually will go through the work to do their own healing, and who wants to help others, could actually be trained in this method. So you could be a clinician, or you could be a coach like yourself. Anybody that wants to do the work and has a sincere desire to help people can actually receive the training so that they continue to be of service to Akron, to love Akron more fully.
Man, that's awesome. Tracy, somebody that's listening right now that says, hey, either I need some of that support, or man, who do they need to get in touch with? What do they need to do?
I would encourage them to follow up with Love Akron with Lori. She is the contact for your agency, and Lori will get you connected to the process. And I will tell your audience that how we are structured is, if you call and say, I'm interested in grief recovery, I need help, we will assign you to someone. But the first step for us for our pilot process is to have that individual go through an interview with an actual therapist, just to get the emotional history, to see where they are. Because the reality is some people will be ready for grief recovery. Again, it's a 6 to 8 week process. But then there are some people, based on how their responses show up in the interview, may need to see an actual therapist. And we want people to know that's okay. That's normal. It's part of your emotional healing. Accept it. And so once people go through that interview process, we will be in a better position to direct them for the care and service they need, so we can love on them a little bit better.
There you go. Tracy, thank you so much for being with us today. if you want to continue to hang out, possibly in the back, this is going to be a great transition. What we're going to be talking with our next guest about, as we talk about what does financial planning look like, right? We don't really talk about that a lot, but also that's another way for us to help our loved ones deal with the grief of maybe the loss. Is how can we set them up down the road in the future with some great financial planning and do that really well. Again, I want to let everybody know, if you are interested in the grief recovery method, you can go to loveakron.org. And if you click on the very first button that says connect, there's a way for you to connect with us and also send that email out to us so that we can get your response of how you would like to engage with us with the grief recovery method. Again, that was our spotlight, Tracy Carter. Thank you so much for being on and for the valuable information that you were able to give us. But also, thank you for your spirit and thank you for how you're loving Akron in the role and the position that you are in. Man, this is a great segue, because now we're going to bring on a guest who's going to help us to get our financial situation in a better place, talking about financial literacy, but also to help our loved ones do the same thing as we plan on what we're going to do maybe after we are gone. And so, yeah, there's going to be the grief of a loss, but we want to help them in how they grieve, so they're not grieving because, hey, we didn't do a good job of setting them up for success after we have went on. So my next guest is going to be Brandy. Brandy, how are you today?
Good. Thank you for having me on. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great. So, Brandy, you just kind of heard the grief recovery method, and I know that had to it teed you up very well with what we're going to be talking about now, because me and you, we met probably, some months ago, and we've been engaging in this conversation about financial literacy and what can we really do to be intentional about meeting people where we are. So tell us, is there some correlation between the grief recovery method and, man, what you want to talk to us about there as far as our financial literacy and some of that planning that we need to be doing?
Yeah, grief recovery, we all go through the various stages. They identify that there's at least 6 stages that you go through when you're going through grief recovery. And what can make it easier is financial confidence about the shift or the change that is going to impact your personal life, maybe your business life, if you are a business owner. Just not having to worry about finances can give you some peace of mind so that you can kind of grieve and go through the various steps and process that you need to have your closure and to move on in life. So by having your financial household in order, if you will, can be a huge help as you go through your grieving process.
Man, that's awesome. And Brandy, I'm sorry, I didn't do a good job of introducing you and all that you do and who you are, but you're Brandy Rahim. Could you tell us who you're associated with and what you are currently doing today?
Sure. So I am the philanthropy chair for the Cleveland Akron chapter of the Society of Financial Service Professionals. So we're a national organization that has various chapters in different cities and states all over the country. And pretty much what we are is a multidisciplinary nonprofit organization. So essentially, our members are CPAs, attorneys, bankers, insurance professionals, investment advisors, just multiple different professions that get together and have made the commitment to provide clients with the utmost highest standard of care and service as they work towards their financial goals, protection, things of that nature. So it's great that there's so many of us that come from different areas of expertise, like a CPA or an attorney, because when you're doing financial planning and you put an attorney or a CPA in the same room as a certified financial planner, and they're all looking at the same client, it helps to kind of give a better full picture of what that person's situation is and how to best help them achieve their financial goals.
Oh man, that is awesome. I got some questions here. Are you ready to get on in? Because you're going to educate us a little bit. Because I'm looking at this. Tell us, what is special needs planning and how does it differ from traditional planning?
Estate planning overall is different for everybody. And I know there's, the assumption that estate planning is earmarked strictly for people that had a ton of money, the wealthy people, the folks on the hill, Hollywood, so on and so forth. But it's really just organizing your financial house, if you will, and setting out a plan as to how you want to pass various things off to those that you love. It's just organizing your household, because everybody knows it can be a little crazy when you have a loss in the family. So it's getting your financial household in order and passing it on to whoever it is that you want to designate. Special needs planning is a subset of that. So it's actually a part of estate planning, in that when you have a loved one who has special needs, to do the various planning to make sure that their needs are met mentally, emotionally, physically. It just takes, a few more extra steps and a little more TLC, if you will, to make sure that they're going to be okay and they'll be provided for, if the primary caregivers can maybe no longer do it, or they've passed on.
Wow, that's a lot. So I know right now I'm going to be in the estate planning category. You know what I'm saying? I'm living large, right? No, I'm just joking. I'm not, but it's good. It's good to dream on that. Can you talk to us about the common mistakes you see families make that make it harder for them or their loved ones in the future?
Sure. I guess probably the biggest one is just not doing the planning at all. Even something as simple as a will can be helpful or cause some challenges or struggles. Again, it's just really communicating what your intentions are. So estate planning, the bread and butter of it may be wills. It could be trusts, depending on how, simple or complex your particular situation might need. And just really planning that out and then communicating it with your loved ones so that they kind of know how things are going to go. I would say that's probably the most important. For those who have a loved one with special needs, a lot of times the biggest concern is, well, I want to make sure that my loved one with special needs continues to be eligible and be able to receive public assistance, whether it's from the state, the federal government, maybe it's a charitable organization, whatever it may be. And so with the best intentions in the world, they may sometimes not leave anything of any kind of value to their loved one with special needs, not knowing that there's actually options available that you can still leave something to them and not disinherit them from public assistance. There's just not enough information out there. And a lot of times when you're caring for a loved one who has special needs, you're so focused on taking care of them and advocating for them, you're not going to know everything. It's hard. It's really, really hard. And so just to know that there's resources out there, there's options, there's planning that you can do to care for that individual, it kind of gives them some peace of mind that everything's going to be okay, whether they're there or not.
Okay, man, that's great. So here I go right now, Brandy. I'm going to be completely open book transparent, right? Because you said something at the beginning of the answer is like not doing one. I don't have a will. I don't have any of that stuff. And I'm going to tell you something, because I feel like, hey, man, I work for a nonprofit. I ain't got a lot of money to begin with. And then to think about all these things, I'm just going to be honest with you now. And audience, maybe you agree. And audience, please chime in. All you got to do is type it in the chat. But it's overwhelming for me to think about. It's so overwhelming. And then two, I think I don't have what I need right now to be able to fund something, because maybe I'm just living, day to day, check to check, month to month. And so what would you say to me? Here I am, open book. I'm calling Brandy, say, Brandy, listen, based on what happened to me in the month of March, man, I really need to start looking into a will and just setting my family up for success after I'm gone. What are some of the things that you're going to talk to me about to say, okay, let me ease you into this, Kemp? Like, I'm not going to throw the whole kitchen sink at you, but kind of tell me what that would look like.
The first thing that I'd probably tell you to do is I'd probably have a conversation with you and just ask you some open-ended questions. What's important to you? What do you want? Because I think sometimes when we write it down on paper and we just kind of sit there and think about it, maybe you're just even brainstorming in that initial conversation. It kind of helps you understand what you want so that you know what you need to go get or what you need. So I think sometimes just having that conversation, and again, you don't even have to do that with a finance professional. Maybe you're just doing it with a loved one and you're just speaking out loud about what you want, what's important, or maybe what maybe keeps you up at night. You know, what's your concern if you have children? What are your plans for your kids if you happen to pass away? Who would you want them to go to? Or, you know, hey, I still want my kids to go to college. Or, hey, I'm in my 40s and I'm taking care of my elderly mother. You know, how would I want her care to continue? You know, just kind of thinking through some of those things. You can always, again, go speak to an attorney who specializes in those things. You know, many times an attorney will meet with you, at least in the first consultation, and generally they may not charge you for that first consultation. So just even doing that, but I think sometimes just jotting down on paper what you want, what's important to you, even if it's messy and it's sloppy sometimes. You know, when I brainstorm, I just vomit ideas on paper, and sometimes maybe talk it through with somebody. But I think those are some of your initial steps. So at least you can go in when you talk to that attorney and just say, hey, this is kind of what I'm looking for. And and your time together can be a little more efficient because you kind of have an idea of some things. So they may bring up some things that you otherwise didn't think of, and that's great. Obviously, you know, Google is a huge help. You can read about other people's experiences, what worked, what didn't. Every state is different as far as how things work when a loved one passes away and probate and things of that nature. And that can be a little hairy to read. But again, just figuring out what's most important to you and what you want, at least jotting that down on paper, that can kind of help you organize your thoughts and make you feel a little more confident and maybe even in control because you know what you want.
Wow. I think we're going to have to create a segment. I might talk to Lori, like practical steps with Brandy. Like that's just so practical, right? Like just write it down, think about what you want, consider it. And it becomes a little bit less overwhelming because it gets out of my head onto some paper. And then we can manage it and say, okay, hey, let's start right here. And I love that. So thank you so much. And
Sure.
you and Tracy today have, man, I knew there was a reason I didn't want to get on today because I'm getting on with two, first of all, just titans of people that are challenging me in a way that I don't really want to be challenged right now, but I'm going to talk about that at the end. So you talk about your children's future and thinking about those things. So now you have me processing. But here's my next question. When I think about this, Brandy, who should be on my family's financial team? Who should be on that team?
Again, that's probably going to be, you know, subjective to the individual. Maybe it's your spouse or your life partner. Maybe it's your adult children. Maybe it's your teenage kids. You know, it could be your kids in middle school. It's never too soon to start talking to your children about that. There's a really great line from the movie Black Panther where T'Chaka is with his father in the afterlife, and he talks about the importance and the responsibility of a parent to prepare their children for, you know, when they pass on and they're no longer with them. And it even speaks about that in scripture, to prepare your children for all seasons of life, including when they may or may not be there. So I think that your immediate family should be, if possible. I think that you should definitely introduce them to who the financial professionals are that you're working with. So again, if it's a CPA, if it's a certified financial planner, if it's an attorney, maybe it's your property and casualty representative, whatever it is, but it's something that they should be walking along with you and at least be informed. Because again, you're a family, and what you do impacts your family directly or indirectly. So I think just having that transparency and that open dialogue, I think, is going to be the biggest differentiator. I know sometimes some families feel very private or guarded about what they do when they don't talk to their spouses or they don't talk to their children, or even maybe their older parents. But there needs to be open dialogue and communication, because your family is part of your team, as well as the professionals who you're paying to help you make more educated decisions. So it's like a village, if you will.
No, that's solid information, and it's really great information. And I don't know, I think you didn't come here today on your own, but you might have, and if you did, it's not a problem, because I think there's so much value in what you're saying. But I love the fact of kind of just bringing all the kids around the table and having everybody get that awareness. So my oldest child is 15, and so Virginia is, I take her to school every day, so we have some of these talks, and when to break that down. What I want to know, Brandy, I want you to be the person that comes into my house that talks to my kids. Okay. So I got to start this process, Brandy, but you're a trusted person.
Yes.
So I want you to be able to walk me through this and what it's going to look like, because I'm going to do all these things to prepare not just myself, but hopefully my family. So as we talk about some of these things, how is it that we can, like, what are some of the things that people, let's just say, Kemp, I just want to be broad and say people, but what are some of the things that I can do today to start thinking about planning? You did say the practical stuff as far as writing some stuff down, right? But is there anything else that I need to be looking at it? And that can even be researching the right type of place to go to, right? The right financial place to go to, the right person to talk to. If you can give us some more tools for our toolbox in that.
Sure. I think that's probably one of the harder places to start for a lot of people. So, the average person acknowledges that there needs to be financial organization and, hey, I need to do this planning, or hey, I need to do that planning. And then it becomes, okay, well, where the heck do I start? Because maybe you're the first in your family to do any of that type of planning. We're all raised to at least, work with a property and casualty agent to insure your house, insure your car, or maybe have your renter's insurance. And so that one's kind of an easier box to check, and we know where to go for that. But as far as other financial professionals, who do you talk to and about what? It can be a little harder of a question to answer. So I think, again, I hate to say it, but it all boils down to your particular circumstances. If you need or you have questions about taxes, a CPA is where you're going to want to go. If you want to, if you have questions about anything around estate planning, again, you're going to work with an attorney. If you own a business, you're going to want to talk to a business tax attorney or a tax law attorney. If you have a loved one who has special needs, you're going to want to talk to a special needs attorney or an elder law attorney. And there are websites that are geared specifically to be able to find those individuals. For instance, I believe I think it's martindale.com is where you can find attorneys, law firms, things of that nature, to help you find those individuals. You might even go on LinkedIn. If you have a LinkedIn account, and just maybe typing in those professionals and searching within a radius of, 10 or 25 miles of your home, you might be able to find professionals there. If you're looking for a certified financial planner, again, the same thing. Those would probably be a lot of the places that you can look. You can always ask referrals from the property and casualty representative, because chances are they're rubbing shoulders with other professionals. So there's a number of places that you could go, but LinkedIn might be a good place to start, especially if you're on that account. I know social media platforms are huge. Maybe you just go on Facebook and just ask for a recommendation. Yeah. I know that is especially important to millennials and younger generations. They look at the comments and the feedback of others who have had similar experiences, just to kind of gauge, who to work with.
Is it ever too late to start planning, or is it ever too early to start planning?
I would say no. No, across the board. I don't think you're ever too old, and I don't think you're ever too young. The younger you are, obviously you gain tremendous wisdom and a lot more confidence about what you're doing. And even if you're 80 years old, there's no shame. There's absolutely no shame. You're a person of value, and I'm sure that you want to leave something to somebody, whether it's, wisdom, knowledge, or even whatever finances you have. You don't have to have a ton of money to do estate planning, because it's really about leaving essentially a love letter. It's a love letter is what you're leaving to the ones that you loved or are most important to your life, to say, hey, I'm not here anymore, but here's what I want to leave for you, because you are important to me, because I care about you, because I love you. Here's something that I want you to have, whatever that may be. And again, could be something tangible or intangible, but all it really is a love letter.
Wow, that's powerful. I want to bring Tracy back on, because I saw that she made a comment in the chat, and I want to kind of get her perspective too of just what she's hearing. And she's still here, she's still available. And all three of us can be on the screen because I want to kind of create this dialogue and also bring but yeah. So Tracy, as we just kind of talked about grief recovery, and then you're kind of hearing this from Brandy, what's kind of the synergy that you're hearing, that you're feeling kind of in this discussion? What's going on?
So for me, how I relate to what Brandy is saying, when we talk about loss, I experienced a divorce where I was in a situation where I was put in a situation to pay alimony. So you talk about a major financial upset and loss for me. And so to move through that process was quite traumatizing and presented great emotional trauma to me. And what I did as I was moving through that process, definitely her advice in terms of speaking to a financial counselor. I already had one before I was put in that situation, but to have someone who was non-emotional help you navigate the waters on, you have to spend less, how to refinance some things, take out a loan just to stabilize your financial house was very helpful. So highly recommend her advice in terms of getting a financial partner to help you plan with while you're stable and before you hit into a crisis mode, so you can come out better ahead when the storm passes. So that's why I was like trying to get in and say yes. What she's saying about being proactive with planning your finances in good and bad times is so important. So important. And again, the grief recovery is for any major loss or change in life. And divorce was one of the experiences I went through where grief recovery and financial planning was very helpful for me personally.
The special needs planning, especially for, when you have a loved one, whether again, it's a child or an adult, is, they're a tremendously underserved community. And unfortunately, especially in the Black community, it's still a taboo. It's something we don't want to talk about. We don't even acknowledge that our loved one, maybe has some disabilities or has some challenges. And so it just goes, unaddressed, sadly, when there's so much that can be done. And there's so much that, there's so much hope, I guess, that's still available to you. And all you have to do is reach for it. And again, you don't have to figure it out all by yourself. There are professionals out there who are very passionate about this, whether it be because they have a loved one themselves that they're taking care of that have special needs, or there's someone in their family. I went and interviewed a family in West Virginia that had a child that had special needs. She at the time was 19 years old when I had the interview, but I drove there and spoke with them, and I asked them to share their story with me, would they mind? And they were very gracious and humble in doing so. And they talked through all the changes and things that they had to go through. You make all these plans and you have all these dreams and visions of what you're going to do with your family. And then life happens and you're like, okay, well, what do I do now? And how they shouldered through that and pushed through that. And they can smile now, and there's peace and there's comfort. But it was very difficult because it wasn't like there was someone around the corner to help them, right? They had to scramble to figure it out because it's just something they just didn't plan for. But there's help out there, there's assistance out there, and they have an amazing story to share that, no matter how hard life gets, there is help out there. And so that, I think that the hope that's out there is great. And their daughter's probably in her mid-20s now. And if both of the parents were to pass away right now, they would have peace of mind knowing that she's cared for. Their youngest son, who was born, totally fine, he also knows what his role will and will not be with his sister. Sometimes when you have a loved one who has special needs, there's an assumption that, oh, well, their sibling's going to take care of them. Well, again, you don't know that.
That's
People
right.
get jobs all across the country. Divorces happen. People go through things. And so, again, having something that, especially like a special needs trust, having a separate entity, having a game plan that, again, you're communicating over and over again with those in your family as well as those professionals, can bring that peace of mind and that confidence that we all need to move forward every single day.
Man, Tracy, I mean, I'm sorry, Brandy, that's so good because I'm thinking about, as you're talking, I'm thinking about, man, my parents, right? And I know this, right? We all think, well, I got life insurance. So it's all good, right? Everything is covered. Why do I have to continue to do this? And not that I'm looking for your answer, because we're actually going to bring some of this financial literacy training to people, correct?
Yes. Yes. Yep. Did you want me to speak to that?
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Absolutely.
So on May 6th, we have a real treat. We're going to have a live virtual panel discussion with a number of different financial professionals. So we'll have an investment advisor, we'll have a certified financial planner, we'll have a private banker, and we'll also have an insurance specialist. And they're going to speak to a real case study of Joe Schmo that, could be our neighbor, it could be us. But they're going to look at this person's particular financial situation, what their goals are, what their aspirations are, and how those four professionals would work together to help this individual achieve and even, possibly exceed his or her goals. So I think by looking at a case study, looking at a real life scenario, you can kind of see how each of these financial professionals play a role in this individual building personal wealth. I think, our white brothers and sisters have been groomed for generations that wealth can be attained. It's attainable, and it's something that you can have. Minorities kind of still battle with that idea. It's a fantasy. It's for them over there. But we're innovators, and we're creative, and we're powerful, and we're strong. And when we have the right tools and we have access to the right kinds of people resources, we can build wealth too. And again, a lot of it just has to do with mindset. So if you are able to achieve financial literacy, that is key to you building financial wealth. And we can start doing that. We don't have to wait or be given permission. It's already right there for us to have. And so we're going to have these professionals come in, share financial tools, tips, and what are the resources that are out there to help folks, start moving forward and get off that hamster wheel. It's a new day. Let's do it.
Right. Come on, man. That's so good. And if you want to know more about the financial literacy that we're going to be doing, and you want to even register, please email us at loveakronoffice@gmail.com. That is loveakronoffice@gmail.com. I want you to email us directly. Don't even worry about going to the website, because we believe this is so important. And we want you to engage in this in a really meaningful way. So before we go off, I just want to bring our guests back on to thank them for their time today, for the wisdom that they shared, and also the transparency that you all shared. But more importantly, the challenge, I believe, that you shared for all of us, right? Like, this wasn't an easy show. This wasn't a kumbaya show. But at the same time, I want to speak to the common thread that I heard from you, Tracy, and also you, Brandy. It's about meeting people where they are. Yep. And I overemphasize that because I believe so much in my heart that's what it has to be about. We have to meet each other where we are, and that's all the stuff that comes with it. And what these two sisters are saying is they're saying, hey, that's cool. We'll help you unpack that. Yep. There's no shame. You don't have to feel shameful. Like, no, we're here to unpack all this with you. And that is the true meaning, I think, of loving each other, but also this is how we are continuing to love Akron. So Brandy, Tracy, thank you so much for being with us. Any just parting words for our audience?
I'm just excited that Love Akron is being bold with this mental health initiative, this wellness initiative, because when the mind is stable and healthy, the heart is stable and healthy. And from that, more love radiates throughout the community. So thanks for taking the lead with this priority. I appreciate you, Kemp.
Yes, and thank you for helping to lead the charge to help with financial literacy, because again, it's going to be key to our local community in building wealth, not only for our households and our businesses, but just the overall well-being of our community. So thank you for helping to do that.
Oh, thank you both so much. And here's the thing for Coach Kemp today. I have to be willing to do the work with Tracy and with Brandy, so I need to get to write down things, but also I need to do the work as far as my own emotional state of some of the losses that I've had in my life. Thank you, sister, so much for your time today and for your encouragement. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All the best to both of you.
Bye.
And so, hey, I'm going to come right back with some of my parting thoughts and words. So watch this commercial.
Start by signing up for Love Akron monthly emails by visiting loveakron.org. You'll get updates about all the latest Love Akron happenings. You'll learn the ways you can help unify the colors, cultures, and congregations of our communities to see greater Akron thrive. You'll meet change makers from around the city, plus gain insight on how they're propelling Akron forward, making it a better place to live and work. You'll learn about Love Akron's partnerships and have an opportunity to connect with local organizations actively making a difference citywide. You'll be inspired through Kemp Boyd's monthly Coach's Corner videos and so much more. Visit loveakron.org to sign up for our e-newsletter today. That's loveakron.org. And remember, if you don't do anything else today, love Akron.
All right, how's everybody doing again? Like, man, I just feel so energized. It was great guests today, but also I want to give you an opportunity to really connect with us. A lot of you tune in to Love Akron Live and the various other encountering platforms that we have. And I just want you to know it takes a lot of work for us to do that. And not only physical work, but it takes a lot of resources, meaning financially. So if you would like to be a contributor or a donor to Love Akron so we can continue to do the things that we're doing, not just on these episodes, but also with leading the charge in the 4 initiatives that we are doing right now. One being the least of these, our mental health and wellness initiative, United Through Love, where we're talking about a lot of the racial tension that is going on in our society right now, but doing it through the lens of loving each other. And also our One City initiative, where it's our kingdom initiative, where we're bringing about the body of Christ to be a blessing unto our city and to really help to love greater Akron. We would love for you to be a part of our team. There is a Coach Kemp 50 by 50 team, where we're looking for people that will be willing to give $50 a month to Love Akron to be that, if you will, first kind of level contributor, which, man, you'll be on the Coach Kemp team. And it's easy to do it. I have the website pulled up right here. If you go to our website and you click the Connect Today, it'll take you to where you can start to connect with us and also to be a monthly giver or a donor. And so you can join the Love Akron team and really be a contributor to all the things that we're doing so we can continue to love Akron. But in order to do that, we have to make sure that we have the resources to really do that well. So we thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you so much for, subscribing to us on Facebook, on YouTube, and all these other things. And please continue to tune into our website about upcoming events that we have going on. And like we always say, if you don't do anything else, make sure that you love Akron. Be blessed today now.
Much greater need in Akron that I can't see.
I could have eventually, stood up and postured myself in a very prideful way. You kind of lose focus. Sometimes you have to step outside of yourself. And how can we go refocus our attention on how we can serve others in this time?
And so I've just been praying, Lord, how do we see the people that really need the most help? The people that need groceries, the people that need encouragement. And so I thought of Kemp.
If there's a way for us to engage or to be involved, man, we want to do that. And I think that we've been transparent in some of the different events and activities that we've done, not only from the platform of Love Akron, but what we've been able to do now in partnership with other organizations.
Don't do anything else today. Just make sure that you love Akron.
Make sure that you love Akron.
Whatever you do today, wherever you go today, just make sure that you love Akron.
And early on, one of the things I said to Coach Kemp was, I'm an employee of Love Akron. We're going to do this black and white conversation. Conversation versus collision. I said, Coach, if we're going to do this, and then we're going to get to that point where we're just rocking and singing Kumbaya, I was like, then can I respectfully ask that you count me out? Because one, if this is not a forever challenge or assignment, if this is not something that we're going to do forever, I just don't want to do it. I want to do something that's going to truly make impact. So I think it's important for us to make note of the fact that this is a commitment from Love Akron forever.